I know. Oh, we're live. Oh, great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another LNGC Late Night Girl Chat with Mayvu and
Cat.
Kat. Yay! I am
Hello.
I am a relationship coach, and I create a beautiful community over at the Bold Brave Woman on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram at Bold Brave Woman also. And Kat.
Hey, I'm Kat, and I run the page We Are Ungirls on Instagram and my website as well. I'm all about female sexual empowerment and just about body positivity and all of those nice things and getting over taboos and stigmatization. So I'm super excited to talk about our topic today.
Speaking of taboo and stigmatization, today we're tackling the big topic of slut shaming. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's still going on so much, you know. I mean, like we're from different generations. It'll be interesting to hear like our dual experiences with slut shaming through the years, you know.
Well, it's so interesting because last night when I made this invitation for this podcast, I got scared. I'm like, oh, in this day and age with the Me Too movement and all this violence and everything, do we want to like stick our neck out there and talk about it's okay to be sluts, And it just kind of like, I got scared. Me, Mayvu Coach.
Yeah, that's
I've been
impressive, definitely.
banging on this drum for 25 years. I'm like, oh, I was starting to pull back, and I can feel the shaming. So it's still here, and it's on some hand. On one hand, I see so much opening and so much freedom that younger generations are having around our sexuality, your sexuality, and then on the other hand, I feel like the whole world is cramping down more and more on our full sexual being. So that's why we're here today. This is like the first conversation that I'm most scared and most have to overcome so much noise. The panel in here is all activated. It's like, oh, be careful. Oh, tread lightly. And so
I think we can tread like heavily, actually. Yeah.
Okay, you go. Lead us on, fearless leader.
I mean, I think if we're going to talk about I think we've got to put it out there. Personally, I think I am happy to be called a slut by myself and by my close friends, because I do not think there's anything wrong in what society thinks is a slut. I mean, I enjoy sex. I have sex. I've had a lot of sexual partners, but even I don't think it comes down to that. I think it's more just an attitude of knowing that you can have sex. You're totally entitled to pleasure. You're totally entitled to act the same way as a man, and I think that if you believe any of that, then some people will call you a slut. And that's just outrageous, because it's totally unfair. I mean...
Yeah. And, it's so interesting, too, that today, as the universe planned it, because we didn't plan it, that Maya couldn't be here. My daughter couldn't be here, right? And I so love having her on these conversations with us. And yet today she's not here. And I have to... I get there is a correlation to this for me energetically. It's like, oh, part of me is like relief that she's not here because it's okay for me to be called a slut or to be looked at, or actually at my age, if I'm considered a slut, that's a good thing because I still have something.
It's a good question. Is there an age limit on a slut? It's a good question.
But having my daughter on these shows with me, suddenly last night, as I put this together, I'm like, well, is it appropriate? So all of the conditioning of societal conditioning just keep streaming through my head going, oh, and I can feel it inside me. So I think the slut shaming conversation should start inside us first.
Yeah.
Like what do we carry forward with us that about being a slut, about our sexual freedom, about our sexual expression, or just even the fact that we are a sexual being. Hello, let's start there.
Absolutely.
You
I mean,
and I, and
what does it
go
even
ahead.
mean to you? Like, what does slut mean to you? Like, from, your background or your history, what would you describe it as?
Well, I know that what was given to me, what was pasted on me, was that if you are considered a slut, then you are terrible, and you can't talk to anyone publicly. You have no credibility. You are not
Mhm.
worthy. You're not worth anything, and you're a loose woman, and etc. And it goes on and on and on. And it should be something that you should avoid, like prison and
Mhm.
slut. Those are two things you really should avoid forever, right? And not
Mhm.
just. How
It's
about
just,
you?
where does it come from? Like, I mean, for me, yeah, I think a slut was like, if you had casual sex, if you had, sex outside of a relationship, I think was definitely like wrapped up in being a slut. And even now, like, I didn't think about it when I was younger, but even now, I see definitions of being a slut as like when you masturbate, which I think is funny, right? Because it's like you're not even having sex with somebody else, like you're just
You're not
like,
doing any
okay,
harm. This is all
yeah,
yours. And but there's so much shame and secrecy to that too. Like, we don't just say, I masturbated today, or I haven't masturbated for 3 days.
yeah.
Like, we don't start conversation with that.
Maybe we
Or
should, yeah, put it
yeah,
out
right.
there. I love that. I love that
so
start.
so slut shaming for you is just like, it's it's just everywhere. And mm, how many ways, in which way are we slut shamed for? Let's name the way.
Yeah, I think for me, my direct experience was when I was dating, and guys would ask me like, how many people have you had sex with? And but at a certain point, I forgot it. I didn't keep count of how many people I had sex with. Who knows? Maybe it was 10, maybe it was 20. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not there to like put a notch on my bed. I'm not
yeah,
like writing in my diary, sex person number 5. Like, I don't know. I wasn't thinking about it. But then I would date some people, and I felt like as soon as they, you know, knew a little bit more about my sexual experience, they just instantly put me in a category of not girlfriend material. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't taken
yeah,
seriously anymore. That hurt me a lot. I think that was probably my direct, like, most impactful experience with slut shaming. Is I just because that started to form in my mind this identity that all these people made for me, and I for a long time thought that I was just not. I was this girl who was just like easy. I was easygoing. I was just like, not a girlfriend, not like somebody to take seriously. And obviously
mm,
that was very limiting and hurtful to my identity, because although I could have sex and enjoy it, I guess I was not really respecting and requiring that respect, and like
well,
to
yeah.
be
And
taken
also,
seriously.
I mean, it's like a big old sign that said, Kat, you're not worth it. You're not
Yeah,
worth marrying. You're not worth getting serious with. You're not
yeah,
worth bringing home. You're just someone that I'm going to stick my dick into practice and get my pleasure, which
oh
is
wow.
like how people treat people, right? That's just horrible.
Yeah, it's really devaluing for, like, that as soon as you have more than two partners or something, it's like all of a sudden or even one. I mean, you grew up being told you have to be a virgin when you get married. It's like
Still
the
at
whole
this
value
age, oh
taken
my
away.
God, right? It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. What was your experience like growing up? Like, how did
Well, for
you?
me, I was so afraid of the whole thing, so I didn't do any of that. Oh God, no way. I did it right. Well, I kind of like messed up, right? A little bit
Oh,
when I had sex with my husband before I married him.
oh, okay.
Oh,
You've lost
oh, oh.
all credibility now.
But what what I reflect on as I'm listening to you is like, oh my gosh, I figure out a cool way to become a slut, right?
Mm.
Because I didn't do it at a young age, so I'm not judged for that. I did marry and I have a daughter and blah blah blah, and then I um, broke out of
Became a
my
slut.
marriage at 40s, and now
Mm.
I'm exploring sexuality, and I surround myself with community of like-minded people that wanted
Mm.
the same thing, and so they celebrated me and
Yes.
they listened to me. I did not go public and expose myself to the crazy wild world out there like what we're doing with these chats.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. I figure out how to do it in a way that is safe, and then I
Mm.
had a really dear friend who wore a shirt that said I'm a slut, and I'm like, oh my god, how could you wear that, and and he explained that he was reclaiming his slutdom,
Mm.
slutdom, and
Mm.
and I was like, oh, I can do that too. So I was lucky that I was in this bubble of people who were into personal growth and who were into development and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I the only person that I was really judged for was my ex-husband.
Oh, really? So
Poor
did you tell
guy.
someone who he was, or like that you had?
Well, I think he judged. There was just so much pain because when I discovered my sexuality, I had to break out of my marriage, and so that caused pain. So it was a very sensitive subject,
Sure.
and so
Yeah.
he hid behind parental thing. He's like, well, I'm fine with whatever you do, but whatever
Mm.
you do has an impact on our daughter, and that I'm not fine with.
Mm.
So that's a clever way of slut shaming,
Absolutely. I
right?
get this
And
one.
it has
Yeah.
guilt that comes with that motherhood guilt, like
Exactly.
that. Yeah,
That's
that took
hard.
my breath away for a
Coaching who
while.
you are as a mother, like, oh, are you a good mother for showing this side of yourself, or are you're influencing her to choose a bad path, or, like make bad decisions? It's just totally bullshit because, studies show that having an open sexual education with kids actually goes the opposite way entirely,
Yeah,
like it
I know. Look at
stops.
my daughter. She's
Look
super
at both me
powerful.
and Maya. We had you and we had my crazy mom in a good crazy way.
Yes,
We're both so sensible,
we have
like
to
we're.
get your mom on this show sometime. That
Oh
would be
yes,
so much fun. It
we're
would
just
be
gonna
like
we're just
love
gonna
at
make
first sight.
subtitles for the Glaswegian accent though.
We might just take over the show. Your mom and I would just start talking, and you guys would be like, okay, fine.
Okay, we'll just leave it to it.
But it's funny too that I'm doing this show out in my workshop, in the garage workshop space instead of in the house. I'm staying at my mom's right now, and I
Mm,
definitely don't want to echo throughout the house talking about
mm,
sexual freedom, slut shaming, even the word slut, even though English is not that strong for her, she does understand, and I would suffer the consequences, and I'm
yeah,
not going
even now,
to.
that's crazy. It's funny, like your parents, they never really let go, of those, or you're not completely free from their judgment. So that's
Yeah.
like still in your mind, even though you're an adult now. That's funny.
Yeah,
Mm,
I remember about 17 years ago when podcasting first came out. So I jumped on that bandwagon and I did a podcast called Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. It was
mm,
awesome, Kat. It was like one of the first thing ever on the airwave that talks about sex in a healthy way, aside from Dr. Ruth. But Dr. Ruth was a little off
mm.
doing her cuckoo thing. But anyway, so um and my assistant trying to be helpful, so she broadcast to my mailing list of the radio show Sex, Lies, and Consciousness, and it went to my mom and dad's email account.
Oh,
Oh
and
my
they picked
god.
one. Oh my god.
she she
Oh, sorry, we're
my mom so angry.
your
And
audio's going in and out sometimes. Sorry, just to.
oh, sorry, I had a weird call, and it
Okay, that's better. That's better now.
I had a call that came in and it interrupted me. Sorry about that. But anyway, so so the email went out to everyone with sex lives and consciousness, and my mom called me, and I have never seen my mom in so much rage, so
Oh
much.
God.
All of
Wow.
her embarrassment just came out, and she's like, "What are you doing over there? How dare you? I don't care what you do. I just don't want you to bring it into our faces. And just
Uh-huh.
leave us
The
alone." Out of
shame
that.
on the family.
Oh, it
Oh my
was
God.
so
Mm.
much. I mean, I just sat there and I felt so embarrassed. I felt so
Mm.
ashamed. I felt so sad that I interfere with their peaceful life. And I was just like beating myself up. And when I hung up the phone, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Just
What are
think about
we
that.
doing wrong? Yeah,
Mm.
like we're just talking, and these conversations are super healthy, and it was
Yeah.
innovative. And at that time there was no marketing whatsoever, and yet I was having people contacting me from South Africa, from
Mm.
Japan, with their deep stories of where they were going with their life and their sexuality and everything. So I'm just kind of like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I wrote her an email back. I reclaimed my shame,
Mm.
and I give back her shame. And I just said, I hear you, and I'm really sorry that I sent that accidentally to you. And to be honest, I am not doing anything wrong here, and I actually are helping the world listening to this. And it felt so good. It was like I took back my power around that. And
Yeah.
so I think that's part of the slut shaming
Mm-hmm.
that
That's
we
so
need
true.
to talk about, is how do you take back your slut shaming? How did you take back
And
your slut shaming?
also to even think about like all the things that people don't do because of slut shaming, and that's not just sex. It's like doing a radio show about sex. It's about like masturbating, or it's about oh God, my hair's going crazy. It's so many things like that. It's not just this one thing. It's like, oh, you worry about the way that somebody will see you online, or the way that your family will be perceived, and all of those things are preventing people from just living their life, like
Mm-hmm.
doing things that actually help people. I see even small cases of this, like for example, if you think about OnlyFans, for example, is a good like it's such a popular thing right now. So
What
many
is
people are
it?
doing OnlyFans. It's like people, it's like they're taking pictures of themselves, and it's a paid for website. So you set up an account. It's like Instagram, let's say, but people have to pay per month to see the content. So it's like adult content a lot of the time, but it could be anything actually. But a lot of young women are doing it, or a lot of people are doing it and making a lot of money. And it's super controversial, but it's especially during pandemic, a lot of people went because they lost their job or because they needed extra money or whatever. They were like, do you know what? I'll take some pictures. It's not
Mm.
even porn. It's like I'll take some underwear pictures or me in the shower or something.
Yeah,
And they go on OnlyFans and they made a
it's
lot
called
of money.
soft porn.
It's like that. It could be hardcore as well. It's totally
Yeah.
up to the individual, and there's a lot of celebrities that do it. But some people, when they got found out about it, a lot of women lost their jobs for it. Like there was a nurse that lost her job, and then people were like lashing back, and they were like, "Well, how is it okay, for example, for a fireman's department to take a sexy nude photo calendar, and this isn't?
Yeah.
Why are men held to a different standard
Yeah.
than women are, because you
Yeah.
can be like the old saying is, you can be a freak in the sheets
Yeah.
and, a normal person on the streets. Like
Yeah.
why do we have to why does your body or your sexuality judge who you are as a person? Because they're two
Yeah.
different things, like
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Well, I remember that happened to me too. Oh my God, I've had
I'm
slut
coming
shaming
back
a
to
lot.
you.
I have neutralized it so I can keep going in life. But I used to train life coaches for the Coaches Training Institute, which is a huge, at that time,
Hmm.
uh, 17 years ago, there were only two school of coaching training, right? And so I was part of one of the predominant school that we went to different countries, not just places, but we
Hmm.
are in South Korea, Israel, all these
Wow.
beautiful places, Turkey, even to bring these this innovative life coaching skills to them. And in our community, everybody loved one of the the co-teachers, and
Mhm.
he's just adorable and he's fun. He's a gay man and he just tell all these stories and sexual adventure and who he's with today, and then that, and it's all accepted. And then I blossom into my sexuality and I came in and they're like, how's it going? We haven't seen you for 6 months. I'm like, oh my God, you should see what happened to me in those last 6 months. I discovered sex and it's amazing and da, da, da. And I learned so much about myself and I'm growing and blah blah blah. And they politely said, that's wonderful. And could you keep that to yourself and not,
Wow.
bring it to the classroom? And I'm just kind of like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's slut shaming.
It,
And
it, it
that's
is.
that thing that you talk about, how why is it okay for men to do such thing, and but for us women, who when we are in our power, in owning that, that's
Yeah.
our power, right?
Absolutely. That's just
Yeah.
like I think I've got like what is the root of it, Like I mean, I think I've been doing a bit of investigation into like what does slut actually mean, like what was the
Yeah.
history of it. And it started as a word that didn't have any specific meaning apart from like a kind of an untidy person, like a messy person. But it was any gender. And it was only like really during like kind of more Puritan, like religious times that they started to use it towards women, and only women actually. There's not even a male alternative for the word. So I think that in itself shows that there is just two like complete different attitudes towards sex. There's one for women and one for men. It's interesting because actually if you look at the female body, and I'm just talking about people, cis women here, people with vaginas, we're actually built for pleasure more than people with penises. I know it
Mm.
sounds crazy, like, but we can have multiple orgasms. We have way more erogenous zones. We're able to actually be turned on in so many different ways that even like men or people with penises are not. So it's like trying to control a tiger or a lion or something. It's like we are built to enjoy sex, right? And
Well, it's
you have,
funny that you use that expression, because when you really reach a point where you really are satiated in your sexual
mm,
energy, you are like a tiger or a lion.
yeah,
There is a roar and a power and an amazing thing
mm,
that, like, I don't normally achieve that state because I don't let myself go there that
mm,
far. But yes,
yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
we have
what
that
happened,
potential,
Kat?
don't we? We're like we maybe that's what it's about. It's like controlling, because I think at the end of the day, the way I see it is if women really took back control of their sexual power, we would have a lot more power than men because, you know, men are weak towards wanting to have sex with women. I'm talking about straight men here, of course. That's something women have to bear the shame of, but actually that's our power. If you turn it around and say, well, that man wants to have sex with me, who's the one in power here? Is it me or is it him? I don't want to have sex with him. So if I am able to use the fact that he wants me, then I have power. So actually, if you put slut shaming on people, then it actually prevents women from realizing that they are the ones who have sexual power over men. Maybe I'm getting crazy here, but that's my opinion.
No, this is the crux of it, Kat. From
Mhm,
go back centuries, right? When the
mhm,
priest and the governing people realize how powerful women's sexuality is, how
mm,
smart we are, all that stuff. There's like a whole campaign to destroy us and to
yeah,
control us around the world. It's not just,
yeah,
I mean, if we think about it, it's all breaks down to basic instinct, basic animal instincts. So it's crazy. I know that women and men are the same species, but still there is
there is some
there's a
differences. Yeah,
difference, right? There's a
mhm,
difference between us, and there's got to be that dominant control thing to I guess to survival instinct or something. So there's
sure,
so much
it's
fear.
normal.
There has
Yeah,
been so much fear about what what we can do with our whole being.
mm.
It's such a shame because it doesn't have to be this way. And
Yeah, we don't have to fight against each other. Like
no, we love
yeah,
each other, and there's so much that we can bring to each other, and so much joy, and so much,
yeah,
and It doesn't have to be this way. And there's enough, right? There's enough resources, there's enough power to share, there's enough responsibility to
Absolutely.
share.
That's
There's
it.
just enough for us to so anyway, I love what you're saying about if us women own our sexuality, own who our sexual being, own
Mm,
our beauty, and really own it, be responsible for it, own it, enjoy it, get to
mhm,
know it, you know, play with it, and so that you get to know it. You are independent. You become independent. You stand in your own power. You're not afraid. I am so different now that I discovered my sexuality at 40s than I was before that.
yeah.
Before that I was petrified of men. I was insecure with myself. I didn't know what the hell to do with myself, and I everything I tried to do was harsh. But when I discovered my sexuality and made peace with men and see what men really want is to pleasure me and to love me and to honor me, oh my god, the whole world changed for me. And now I
Mhm.
really am doing the work that that I'm
You're
meant to
meant to be
do in this
doing as
world,
well.
championing women around
Mhm.
this, right? So
It's so
it's
beautiful.
so beautiful. And it's you got your finger on the clit right there, honey. It's like that's it. This is our power. Being a sexual being and enjoying our sexual being is not, it's
It's
not
not
wrong.
shameful.
It's not
It's
dirty. Yeah,
not.
it's
It's
your
something
power.
natural.
Don't
Why is
don't
something
walk away
natural be
from it.
shameful?
Yeah.
We're like so we're so like passionate about it. We're like I mean, I don't know. I think also if you're religious, because of course religious people tend to experience this kind of shame more than non-religious people. You know, if you believe in God, let's say, why would God make you this way if He just wanted you to live in shame and be continually like holding yourself back? You know, like I just think if it's natural, which it is, you know, like let it be and trust. If you want to have a continue relationship with religion and God and everything, you can do that. But I just think like ask yourself like why am I the way I am if I'm just meant to live in shame my whole life? Because you know I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Kat. I mean, I don't even want. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
I know
yeah, I
religion
can
is
add to
such a
that,
huge
right? And then
topic.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want the religious right to come after us, and it's sex brings up shame, but really deep down it brings up insecurity of ourselves,
Mhm.
and
That's
it's
so
our
true. Yeah.
job to sit and get to know that insecurity and love her and champion her and heal her and bring her forward so that you can own all of you. I hear you and we hear this in our NGC community, in
Yeah.
my Bold Brave Women community, in your
Yeah.
Ungirl
Very,
community, like we hear this all the time of
mhm.
women, girls, young women, old women are out there having sex, doing these things in the dark, in the shame closet, and hurting themselves because they
Mhm.
have not made peace with their sexual being. They don't know who their sexual being is. They have not made peace with it. They haven't owned it, and yet they keep looking for love through that
Mm.
door. It's detrimental. It's painful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that adds to the shaming. And then we're like a bloody mess of that. So
Absolutely. If you can't like just accept who you are and that's part of you, like if you are a sexual person, because some people don't enjoy sex, that's absolutely fine too. But if that's something that you're into, like accept that and go forward in your life, like attracting the people that accept that too. Because when it comes to love, like how can you be with somebody who's not going to accept such a big part of you? You know, like are you going to live in shame and hiding forever? You know, it's I
yeah,
know it's hard.
let me make a distinction here, because my usage of sexual being and your usage of you're a person of a sexual person, those are
Mm.
two different things, right?
That's true.
A,
Yeah, yeah.
a
Everyone's a
sexual
sexual being,
being
I
is
guess.
that
Yeah.
we are born.
Yes.
We are born before we do anything. We are born a sexual being that
Absolutely.
comes with
Yeah.
the package, and we keep denying that. We keep thinking
Mhm.
that we're a teacher, we're a mother, we're a
Yeah.
wife. No, you're a sexual being first.
Yeah,
first. And
absolutely.
then what's your relationship to your sexual being? Are you an active sexual being? Are you, like really needs more of that or less of that or this way? You know,
Mhm, mhm.
that's
That's really sexuality, like it's
that's how you
specifically
express
sexual.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
but I think the denial that or the unawareness, like I remember when I hear that for the first time, I'm like, wow, I've never seen myself as a sexual being. I've seen myself as a mom, I've seen myself as a daughter, I've seen myself as a
Mhm.
woman, but I've seen myself as a woman who's burdened with boobs and vagina.
Exactly, the burden,
But I've
like,
never
oh my
seen myself
God,
as a sexual being.
I
Yeah.
did it myself. Yes,
Yeah.
that is it.
Ah,
I know,
so let's
this is
see.
such a huge topic, it's like we could talk in so many different, like, we could go
Nooks
down
and
so many
crannies.
routes with
Yes.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think at the end of the day, like for me, the thing a really good phrase I learned recently, and I think is so important for everybody to know is like that women and women's bodies are not to blame for the actions of anybody else, you know?
Yes.
So if
Wait,
somebody's
say that
looking at
again. It's so good.
women's
You have to say
bodies
it
are
again.
not to blame for the actions of anybody else, So even if my boobs are so sexy that somebody wants to touch them, that's not my boobs' fault, That's their fault. Like that's their decision. So
Yeah.
so no matter what we do, no matter what we dress like, we are not the ones inviting and causing the issue, So I just, I hope that is also important for survivors and everything to know because, like you did not invite that. You did not deserve that, So I think it's so much part of sex, like slut shaming. So I really hope, anyone feeling
Well,
like that right now.
slut shaming goes right to victim blaming,
Ah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
So then, in my mind, even, and I know not to do this, but that's the first thing that goes in my head. It's like,
Mm,
oh, what was she wearing? Oh, what was he
mm,
doing? So it's like, yes, okay, we're human and we're gonna have that useless first level of thoughts, and then please rise above that and said it
absolutely.
doesn't matter what they were doing or wearing or saying or how they were behaving, you know if they were enjoying their sensuality and their sexuality, that's their right. It is not your right to invade it, to grab it,
Yeah,
to be,
exactly.
you know abuse it just because you can't control your own
Exactly.
emotions
Yeah.
and your own self. It's like
Just control
that.
yourself. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
definitely.
get some therapy. Go get some help. Go
Absolutely.
learn.
Get one of
Go
those like
figure
male
out.
sex toys. It's like if you're so horny all the time, like just use your hand, a sock. I don't care. Like don't
Yeah.
put that on somebody
Now,
else.
I have to say, we have to be fair because not only so far, I think our conversation is like a lot of shaming toward women and our sexuality.
Mm,
Let's turn the table because I think women shame men for their sexuality too. We shame them so much for wanting a kiss from us, for loving how we look, for going, oh, you're so hot, baby. We can't handle that ourselves. So we put all that shame onto them. Like, ew, you're leering at me. It's like, wait a minute. How are we shaming men for their sexuality, for the way they express it, for the way they do it, right?
well, I think you're right. I think it's two. You need to see, like, for me, when I think about the way that men want to have sex with people, I don't see it as a problem. Like, that is, in most cases, a natural feeling. That is absolutely fine. But the problem I have with it is the normalization of them just not being able to control their sexual feelings, So for me, I don't have an issue if you have the feeling, but I do have an issue if you cannot control it because that is not a natural thing, that I'm not like, they say boys will be boys, I don't think
Yeah.
that's true. I think that's just if you accept and if you expect that behavior from men, that's the problem. But I don't have any issue with men wanting to I don't care. I enjoy actually that people think
Well,
somebody thinks I'm sexy. That's absolutely fine. I enjoy that actually. But
yeah. Can I
yeah,
push you on this one? Because I think we're struggling with something here with this show actually
mm,
that's happening to us in this show. And I've been just kind of like
mm,
thinking about this and kind of like dislodging myself to see if there's room here for me, right?
mm,
So like doing this show, Late Night Girl Chat, we were so innocent. We're like, oh, that's such a cute name. When we talk to people in Vietnam and Azerbaijan, it
yeah.
is nighttime for them. So let's call it Late Night Girl Chat. How fun is that? And then we didn't realize that Late Night Girl Chat seemed to be the thing or code words for uh
Yeah, like a
sex
sex
talk
hotline or
channels.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sex hotline. Yes. This is not a sex hotline, by the way, just in case you haven't gotten that yet. However, what's been happening is that we get a lot of unsolicited, hey girl, hey, want to see my
Mm,
dick? Hey girl, let's talk. Hey girl, and it annoys the shit out of us. And
mm,
so why does it annoy me, right? So I think about that and I'm like, oh, it's annoying me because I didn't want all these sexual advances. Oh my god, these conversations are so stupid. All these thing that goes on in my head around this. And ew, and these guys are icky. Am I shaming him? Am I shaming them for seeing three beautiful women and wanting to make connection and wanting to reach out and wanting to say hi and wanting to talk and wanting to like even engage in
mm,
sexual exchange out there? It's like, so I get that I'm not interested in that. And so I say no, thank you very much. So delete. But do I need to be irritated? Do I need to be annoyed? And over
mm.
time, a lot of these inquiries pile up and my brain just automatically go to shaming them. Ew, these guys are so icky. Ew, what's wrong with them? Ew,
Mhm.
ew, ew, right? And isn't that just the same thing? Start
I
shaming
think there are
them.
two different things going on. I think the first thing that is maybe wrong or that we maybe can work on is that we don't need to think that they're disgusting for feeling like that, but there is still something that they're doing wrong, and that is worth shaming, maybe shaming or judging them for. They're not entitled to put their sexual feelings onto us. There's nothing wrong for them having the sexual feeling in the first place, but the way they're then acting on that is the problem. Like, for example, I can have a fantasy about somebody, that's absolutely fine. But if I then go to that person and say, hey, I fancy you and
You
I
want to
want to do
play
it
out my
all for you.
fantasy?
Yeah, that's already an entitlement to and making them
Hey,
feel
my dick
uncomfortable.
is getting hard just watching
Exactly,
you
yeah.
talk,
Like,
Cat. It's like,
nobody needs to
no!
know that. So it's not a problem if your dick's hard. The problem is when you show me your dick because you think you're entitled to show me it because I've made you feel like that. But I haven't made you
just
feel like that.
because
You've
we're
made yourself
on
feel like
just
that,
because
you
we're
know?
on camera talking about this doesn't mean that we are inviting that, right? So
Exactly.
this is a great distinction. So where we are responsible is we need to find a peaceful place to delete, block, and just not add
Yeah.
more
It doesn't
slut
affect us
shaming
too
in our head
much.
about these men. We don't get to judge them that, oh, these guys have sexual problems, all that stuff. That's horrible. So is that
Yeah,
belongs to us.
we can
And
work on that.
yes, and on their part is this community message that we keep training every episode is like, if you're watching this and you find us delightful, we so appreciate that. A like and a thumbs up is
Sure.
plenty, right? Or even you could even
Buy
say,
us
you
some merch.
yeah,
Donate
keep
to
going.
us.
Yeah, keep going, girls. Or no, actually, don't call me girl. Keep going, ladies. You guys are great. We love that. But don't go too far
Yeah,
and impose your sexuality onto
exactly.
us, your
Mm.
desire, your unmet desire onto us. We are not that. That's not what we're up
Yeah,
for.
we're not there
But
to
we
fulfill
love to
that.
be in conversation in a healthy way with
Yeah,
people around the
absolutely,
world.
absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I think it's so important to make that distinction. We appreciate your support. We like that you like us, but just hold back the sexual stuff into your head. Just keep it in your head, okay? Unless maybe we invite it and we start messaging you, then that's maybe another thing. But I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. So let's just Imagine I never even said that. Okay.
Yes, that's right. All right, enough on slut shaming and shaming ourselves and shaming each other. Remember, the shame starts here inside you. So if you are upset that people are shaming you, the first place is to look inside and go, where am I shaming myself? Where am
Yeah.
I rude to myself? Where am I not accepting my sexual being the way that I am as is?
Mhm.
And how do I feel embarrassed and shame about that? And then address what's out there and
Yeah, well then it can't really hurt you anymore. If somebody calls you a
yeah.
slut and you have taken away the negative meaning of a slut, then it doesn't matter if somebody calls you it because you don't get shamed by that anymore. So you're
And
right. It's a lot of self work.
if you think about it, becoming a slut took a lot of work, a lot of boldness, a lot of bravery,
Absolutely.
right? And
Vulnerability.
a lot of stability. And that's a powerful thing to be known for and to achieve, really. I mean, if you have achieved slutdom, I bow
Absolutely.
to you because
Congrats.
I know how much you have to go through to achieve that place of being so
That's so
comfortable
true.
in your own body and your sexuality that ta-da.
Absolutely. I love that. We should give it as a gold star, like a certificate in the
Yeah,
post. Like,
we should
well
end with,
done.
hi, I'm Maygu and I'm a slut.
Exactly. On your wall, like frame it. I love that. Let's do
And you can?
that. Yeah, we should get badges made. I am a
Right.
slut. I have
Yes.
achieved the title of a
Find
slut.
that one,
I
honey.
went through slut school, actually.
Yes. All right. Thank you for listening and joining us. We love the hearts and the thumbs up. Thank you so much for that. Please subscribe to our channel. And what else? You can find Kat on her brilliant Instagram and TikTok channel, the Ungirl.
We
Right?
are
We are
ungirls.
Ungirl. We are Ungirl. It's amazing. I mean, like we are just going to go through one by one and just do these conversation deeper conversation about them. And then if you are interested in if you're going through some big things in your life and
Mm.
you need the support of a whole bunch of amazing women who are loving and going through big things themselves, join my community, the Bold Brave Women, on
Absolutely.
Facebook. And
And
my
check me out
Instagram is
as a
not as
coach.
great as Kat, but I'm on there too.
No, but May, you're underselling yourself entirely. Honestly, May is a wonderful coach in so many different ways, and it's just a lovely person to have in your life. So reach out to her if you want, just a warm hug and somebody to help you, see the way forward. So
Oh, thanks,
I think,
Kat. And I can
oh,
help you save your marriage just in
oh,
case
there
you're
we go.
going through
That's
that shit.
absolutely
All
no
right. We broadcast every Friday around this time, around 8 a.m. Pacific time, California time, around 5 p.m.
4 p.m.
Berlin
in
time,
Europe. Yep.
in Europe time. So tune in, share. We love you, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.
Bye.